Hello everybody, and it's time to do the spring 2022 forecast. So, yeah. So, yeah, after about 8 updates, I finally got all the data together and decided to release the spring 2022 forecast. This is a very late forecast on the 14th of April, so we're already halfway through meteorological spring, so I do apologise for that. But it is the first time I've done a spring forecast, and the only reason I've done it is because gavsweathervids, sorry, a weather channel that I follow, didn't do a spring update this year, and so I thought I'd have a crack at it myself and use the same methodology that he uses, looking at years with similar weather patterns, for example, January temperature, etc., December rainfall, etc., and seeing what happens, um, seeing what the springs were like in those years, and creating an analog space forecast. So yeah, what I've done is I've created a table here, and this shows you all the years going back all the way back to 1948, which is as far back as we can look at with the NCAR data set that I'm using. And you can see across the top here we have our variables, if you like. So warm autumns, so these are all things that happened, all things that apply to like the past 6 months. So warm autumn, we had that December CET, for example, between 6.2 and 6.8, sorry, 6.2 and 6.6, with a December CET of 6.4. So we look for years that had a similar temperature, and you can see the X's on here. That means it's a match. So, for example, and some years have more matches than others. So, what we're interested in is the years that have the most matches. So, hang on a second. So yeah, for example, 1948 doesn't have any matches. So I'll just try and make this as big as I can. There we go. Got rid of that, and we can see the entire thing. So get rid of that as well. So you can see in the year of 1948 no matches, so you wouldn't want to look at the spring in 1948 because it doesn't have any resemblance to what's happened with the weather over the last 6 months or so. So it's not relevant. For example, next year, the 1949 is a bit more relevant because it has December precipitation between 96 and 160 millimeters. It has a dry January below 50 millimeters, and it has a winter central England temperature between 5.6 and 6.2. So yeah, that would be a more relevant year, and so on. And as you can see, I've put the number of matches there. So a lot of these years only have one or two matches. Some years only have 0 matches, and we're not really interested in those years because they're not really that relevant. We're more interested in years that have 3 matches, and you'll see some years have 4 matches. We are quite interested in those. And one year in particular, 1995, just here has 9 matches. This year is very, very relevant because it has a warm autumn previously. Matches for the December CET. It also, let's go back up, also has matches January CET, and it also has a top 10 minus February. And what was the other match? It also has a match for winter central England temperature as well. So 1995 is going to be a very important year in our analogues. It was also a hot summer in 1995 as well, but we're not looking at summers, we're looking at springs. You see the years generally get more relevant as we go further on into the 2000s. That's because a lot of what we're looking for, a lot of the weather over the last few months has been warmer than average, so which a lot of the winters and autumns over the last 20 years have tended to be quite warm, so quite mild. So that's why we get more matches. Tend to get more matches as we go further along. So yeah, so it's quite a long process. Having to go back and watch all the videos. I've had to go back and manually mark all the years down. So it's quite a lot of work, but there's no other way of doing it other than creating a table like this. Yeah, let's move on to the spring 2022 forecast. I've done a nice little PowerPoint presentation, so let's go into that now. So let's crack on with it. So when it decides to respond, I'm currently running like a program in the background. Looking for errors on my computer, so it's probably going to run quite slowly. But yeah, so here we are. We see we've got the these are all the keys that have 3 hits or more. These are a lot more relevant than the years that only have 1 or 2 hits, and these are the springs that followed. So actually, I'm just going to get up my pen software because I forgot to do that. So I'll do that now, and I'll get back to you. So overall, you can see. Just got my pen software loaded up. So overall, you can see that when we have 3 hits or more. Whoops. Let's try it again. When we have 3 hits or more, you can see that we have high pressure over the top of the country, so it's an anticyclonic signal with all of these years. So we've got 1949, 1973, 1987, 1991, 1995, 1996, 1997, 1998, 2000, 2002, 2003, 2007, 2012, 2015 and 2019. So if we were just looking at the springs with 3 hits or more, then yeah, we can basically forecast a warm and dry spring. However, it gets a bit complicated because when we look at 4 hits or more, we get a different signal. High pressure this time. This is how it looks with 4 hits or more. So for this one, we only have 4 years: 1995, 1998, 2007, and 2015. You can see with this one, the high pressure is down to our southwest. It's pulled away towards the Azores. The Azores high not reaching over the country, but displaced to our southwest. You can see low pressure is up to the north, not over the country, but a bit closer to us. When you've got generally just got a more of a westerly flow, so generally more unsettled for a lot of those springs. Still quite mild with the wind coming in from the west on a lot of those springs, but generally a bit more unsettled and changeable. And we have 4 hits or more. Now excuse me. So now we'll have a look at years with 5 hits or more. Okay, and it should. Okay, let's just go back here. I'm sorry, but I don't know what's happened. To my slideshow, because it should be here, but that's gone a bit wrong. I don't know what's happened there, but it seems like the image I had for 5 hits 1995 disappeared. So I think I'm going to have to go back to here and bring it up manually. So yeah, I do apologise for this, but yeah, definitely had that up before, so I'm not sure what's happening, what's happened with that. But let's go back to Noah's website here, and we'll have a look at the spring of 1995. So this year has 5 hits, so it's our best analog. So let's go to anomaly, and yeah, create the plots, and you can see the UK sort of perched in the top right hand corner, but you can see basically low pressure to our north and east like that, high pressure to our west, pulling in winds down from northerly to northwesterly direction at the time. So definitely a cooler and more settled spring. When we look at the top analog here, if we break this down individually, so let's have a look at individual months. So if we have a look at just March 1995, you can see it was an unsettled March with low pressure over to the north of the country, high pressure as always high, well away from those winds down from a west to a northwesterly direction. So quite an unsettled March in 1995, very different to the March we've just had, of course. Have a look at April 1995 next, and this is how it looks. So much more anticyclonic, much more high pressure dominated, high pressure over the UK, but also ridging northwards, so quite a lot of northern blocking, probably winds down from northerly direction some of the time, so quite dry, a dry April in 1995, but could also be quite chilly at times as well. Finally, look at May 1995. There we go. And as you can see, we just have like a shallow trough of low pressure over the country. So northern blocking signal low, deep low pressure middle of the Atlantic. Just generally probably quite a cool and showery May for 1995. So yeah, definitely much more a changeable spring when we look at the top 4 and top 5 analogues compared to the top 3. So that does make the forecast a bit more challenging. So this should be displaying 1995's data, but instead just displays a blue screen. But luckily I do have the years saved here. So that's 5 hits or more, 3 hits or more. So I should also show you. So yeah, so that does make it more complicated. So I think I've showed you everything, and I've showed you 3 hits, 4 hits, and 5 hits. So now all we need to do is to issue the forecast, and if we were just looking at the top 3 hits or more, we would forecast, it would be a straightforward forecast for a warm, dry and sunny spring. As we're already halfway through this meteorological spring now, we know that isn't the case. March was a very mild month, particularly in the second half of the month when we had over a week of warm, dry and sunny weather. But April started off cold, and it's only just started to warm up now, really. So you're definitely not a repeat of spring 2020 when we're having just day after day of sunshine. It's not been like that at all. And I think that a reason for the cooler and more unsettled April weather that we've been experiencing so far this April has been a result of the southern stratospheric warming. Not the southern stratospheric warming, but a stratospheric warming, which is where basically the temperature dramatically warms up over the North Pole all of a sudden. And when it happens within like a couple of days, it's called a sudden stratospheric warming. When it happens over like a week or two, it's just a stratospheric warming. even if it's not a sudden stratospheric warming, it still has an effect on the troposphere and the atmosphere and the weather patterns that affect the UK's weather. So often when you get a sudden stratospheric warming or just a stratospheric warming, it tends to correlate back to northern blocking, which is high pressure around Greenland and Iceland, which tends to turn the wind into the north or the northeast or the east, and it also tends to set up a trough of low pressure over the UK as well, especially in the summer. So yeah, northern blocking, not good news for summer because you tend to get a lot of cool and settled weather. In winter it's good for snow fans though, because you tend to get a lot of cold and snowy weather. So generally northern blocking is a sign for cold and wet weather, or in the spring, cold and snowy weather. And it's not been too unsettled this April, but it certainly has been chilly a lot of the time, with most days in single digits where I am anyway. So although it has warmed up a lot now, but yeah, I think that will, so basically I think that will continue. I think the first half of April has been below average temperature wise, or I think it certainly was. It might have gone back towards average now with the warmer weather in the last few days. I think the second half of April will be a bit warmer than average, and I think that will make this April, I'll get up my forecast now, because I did write this down a few days ago. So yeah, spring 2022 has started on a warm note. Let's just make this a bit bigger. Let's just make this a bit bigger. 48. So there we go. Spring 2022 has started on a warm note with a very warm March. However, April 2022 has been so far quite cold. Most of the analogues suggest a warm and dry spring, however the top 4 suggest a more changeable spring, and of course the top 5 definitely more changeable as well. Due to the sudden stratospheric warming, we have gone into a colder and wetter pattern for April. However, the weather is forecast to turn warmer this week. Therefore, I am forecasting that the second half of April will be a little bit milder than average and cancel out the colder than average first half. I'm predicting that April will finish close to the 1981 to 2020 average. That should be the 1981 to 2020 average, otherwise, because there is no 1981 to 2020, it's 1991 to 2020, so that should be 1981 to 2010 average. With above average precipitation, that's rainfall. Precipitation basically means anything that falls out of the sky, so rain, hail, sleet, snow. I think that May and the rest of spring will be changeable with a mix of warmer and drier and cooler and wetter periods. However, I think that high pressure will make a comeback for a time during May, as often happens. So yeah, I think despite this stratospheric warming, I think high pressure will make a bit of a comeback during May. But I don't think it will last throughout the whole of May. I think it will be interrupted by low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. So I think May will be a mixture of warm and dry, high pressure dominated periods and cooler and wetter, more lower pressure dominated periods. I therefore think that May will see above average temperatures but near normal rainfall. Overall, I think that this spring, by above average I don't mean way above average, probably about half a degree to 1 degree above the 1981 to 2010 average. Overall, I think that this spring will see slightly above average temperatures compared to the 1981 to 2020, 1981 to 2010 average, and near normal rainfall. And yeah, I think that's the best I can do for you. Really, I think if we were just going off the top 3 analogues, it would be a lot more straightforward. But if we went for that, I think we would be wrong, seeing this is how April's turned out. So because it releases so low, we've already been through half of the meteorological spring. It has been a bit of an advantage because I've been able to see how the spring has panned out so far. But yeah, so yeah, that's the best I can do with you, a changeable spring with a mixture of warmer and drier and cooler and wetter periods. Overall, temperatures slightly above average, mainly due to the above average March and near normal rainfall. That's the best I can do with you for you. I hope you enjoyed the forecast. I hope you enjoyed the updates that we've been doing as well. If you haven't yet seen the spring updates, then have a look at the channel, have a look at my previous videos, and yeah, have a look at my spring updates. So yeah, that's the spring forecast, guys. I hope you're satisfied. I will review this probably in June, and yeah, I do apologise for being so late, but I haven't been feeling well recently, and so yeah, that was just mainly why. We didn't even start doing these updates till like end of January, so yeah, if we start doing them like earlier, then we would have probably got the forecast done at least by the end of March. But anyway, never mind. At least better late than never, they say. Probably gavsweathervids isn't doing any summer forecasts either, so he's got cancer at the moment, and he's just been for a big operation, and it's really affected his speech, so he's getting better now. But it will be some time before he can resume his forecast, and there won't be any summer updates on his channel. So I suppose the next thing to do is to do some summer updates, which I'll plan to do very, very soon. But again, it's only a month and a half until start of meteorological summer. Can you believe? So yeah, this year going fast already, and so yeah, I'm just over 2 months until the start of astronomical summer on the 21st of June. So yeah, a summer not far away at all. So probably do a few summer updates, and we'll try and release the forecast at least by the start of astronomical summer, which will be on the 21st of June. And I'll also probably review the spring forecast and see how well I did as well. But yeah, that's all I can do. So yeah, that's the spring forecast done and dusted. I'm sure if Gav was forecasting the spring, he'd come to a similar conclusion. And yeah, so that's the forecast, guys. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Peace.